Conversations is the second video in the four-part series, The Journey from Good to Great. In the previous video, It Begins With You, we talked about the importance of developing a philosophy that aligns with your program's core values and strategies that promote being present with children. Today, the focus is on communication, but not just any type of communication. We are talking about the type of communication that is relevant, prompts further learning, and builds trust between adults and children. Research has shown positive relationships are a key factor in maximizing learning in the early childhood classroom. While there are many ways to establish trust and build a positive relationship, today we will focus on one particular strategy: the power of meaningful conversations. So what do we mean by meaningful conversations? First, let's take a look at what we do not mean. One might talk to communicate, however, talking is not the same thing as a conversation. The early childhood classroom is a busy place, so we often find ourselves being wrapped up in talking to or at children. Much of the communicating that is happening throughout the day is superficial or directive. While certainly this type of communication will happen in an early childhood classroom, if it is our prime method of communicating, we are missing out on many opportunities to build relationships and extend children's learning.
Have you been to where you get your hair cut?
Yeah, my hair is like my mom too.
Does she? Have you noticed that sometimes when they cut hair, they hold it like you're doing, Sophia?
I'm in the present with children when I have taken care of myself first, when I've dealt with the issues of knowing how my day is going to go, any parent I might have needed to talk to or my principal, but just dealt with those non-kid issues, and which allows me then to be right there with my kids and what they're doing and what they're talking about, and then being able to respond appropriately to them.
I think the best way that we as teachers can be present or in the moment in the classroom is to take a minute and just pause and breathe. And when a child approaches us, it's so important to maintain eye contact. I think that's such a key way to show the children I'm present and I'm ready to listen to what you would like to share. And just to have that connection with them, I think initially with the eye contact, and then to just maybe step back a little bit, listen to what they're telling us, and then process it a little bit, and perhaps maybe we have a suggestion, or if they have a question, we can suggest something, or maybe we can help them expand on what they're learning. If they're wanting to play with a certain toy, we can talk about, how do we play this game, and that kind of thing. And so making sure that we are making the connection initially with the eye contact, and then just listening to them initially and being able to focus on what they're asking us.
They are worms. Have you ever touched a worm before, Joey?
I did.
No? And yes, Zoe said she's touched a worm before. And she said it felt creepy. And did you say why it felt creepy?
Yeah.
Tell me. Because why? Because what? It felt weird. It felt weird. Do you know what?
That was playing skate.
Look here. Look here. You know what might make them feel weird is that they're moving. And so when they're moving, that might make it feel weird. Hi, Addie. Come have a seat.
They're worms.
But these aren't worms.
Are those live worms?
Those are live worms. What do you think about it? Now, when worms move, they scrunch up and they spread out. And they scrunch up and they spread out. And that's how they move. They don't have legs. They don't have feet. But that's it. Yes, he is wiggling. Look at him. There.
Back in the dirt.
How can he get back in the dirt? Well, how do you think we can get him back in the dirt? You could pick him up and put him back in. Absolutely.
No, I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it. Okay, Joey, can you pick him up and put him back in the dirt?
I do take that time in the morning to set my day up and clean up all that extra stuff that's going on, and being present. I really picked up on that, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm doing better at that. But then also like the talking. Stop talking and listen. Stop talking and scope out the area and things like that. I thought I need to do more of that, and that really hit me. Just stop talking. You don't need to talk so much. What does listening mean to me as a teacher? Now that's a skill in itself, because I've had to learn that as a teacher I do not have to talk all the time. So listening to me is being quiet, listening to my children or my child, and not only listening to the words, but also observing his body language, his gestures, how he looks at his environment and his peers. Listening is just taking it all in a quiet state of presence.
Oh, well, this morning I burned it on a curling iron. It kind of hurt, so I put a Band-Aid on it. Have you ever burned your finger on anything? It hurts, doesn't it? Yeah, that's what I burned. I touched the wrong part of it. Not for very long. Your grandma's done that? A glove. That will happen if you don't have the right things to hold on to it with. Has she ever burned her finger? Oh, she's lucky. She's been very careful then. Thanks for asking, Eric and Alex and Jenna.
It's so important to get to know the children because the people I have, they are, many of them on the autism spectrum, and they don't have a lot of language that comes forth naturally. So to get to know them, I have to observe them. I have to talk with their parents to get to know the part of why you have to get to know them. You have all these different components that come into getting the child to use language, to encourage them to use language, to entice them to use language. All that will come, I believe, if I do get to know them from the inside out, sideways, and as I sometimes say, I crawl inside their head to find out what's going on in there.
I think one of my biggest goals when the children come in, I always try to make sure that someone greets them at the door. To me, that's the first way to know how a child is doing that day. Some children come in and you can tell their heads are down and they're upset about something that's happened before they've come to school. So it's a way to look for those kinds of things, but also just to hear about their weekend. And for me, that's a way to get to know them better and to understand some things that really interest them. And a lot of times that really guides my teaching. And really letting the children guide me sometimes it really makes for better learning for them because they're really interested in that.
What do you think, Sophia? You gonna try one? Yes?
Oh, the birds are dancing.
What did you say? Whenever you touch the top of them, they scrunch up. You know why they do that? Because they're trying to move. But it's okay. It's okay if they scrunch up. You can just put it in your hand like this guy. He's not really moving much. He's just moving a little bit. Do you want to hold an active one, or do you want to hold one that's not really moving? Okay, give me your hand. And then you just hold it like that. Do you think he's sitting or relaxing? Oh, is it moving now?
Listen to what they're saying, and then get to know them and have them feel comfortable with while you're listening, that they know that you are listening and that you can be trustworthy and listen to them and either keep it to yourself or take it to where it needs to go, but develop a trust with them that they are able to communicate anything they need to.
Meaningful conversations would be talking to the child that you know and talking to the child you have been observing and watching every day in class, and you know this child and you know his likes and his dislikes, you know what gets him excited, what makes him happy, And using those terms and those insights that you have of that child makes that child feel valued and makes that child want to visit with you because he just knows that this is a good thing and that you're interested in him and he is worthy of your time.
They're different shapes and you can see through them. Riley, they're right over here at the garden center. Are you talking these? No. Tabletop.
And they don't have wood sides.
What are they made out of if they don't have wood sides? Are they made of something soft and quiet? Are they our quiet blocks? They're magnetic and they stick together. I don't have any magnetic. Oh, I know what you're talking about. These. Boy, you got it. This says tabletop blocks. You were right on target.
The benefit of having a meaningful conversation, I guess let's start with the parents because that's, again, my children don't have a lot of language, natural language coming from them. So I have to know from the parents, okay, what have you heard, what have you seen, what have you observed coming from the student before they even get to me. Then I use that to look at them and I can engage, when I do get the student in my program, I can engage them in conversation about things that I think they may know about, what they've had at least experience about.
You think they look like snakes? Yes, I think so too. Why do you think that? You think it looks, yes, Brooklyn, please do. Brooklyn, what are these? Oh, they are worms. What do you want to say about that one, Sophia? It is kind of tiny. Oh, Joey's putting a worm next to yours, Sophia. What do you think? What's the difference between those two worms? One is long and one is short. What else do you see, Joey?
I think listening is a skill that is hard to develop. We live in a world where we depend on so many visual things, and it's hard for us to really pay attention sometimes to what the sounds are in the environment. Listening to speech is obviously important for communication.
Having a conversation and talking to a child, they are different because to me, talking is just talking to them. Where you have a conversation is you're actually listening to what they're saying, repeating the information to them so that you're able to follow what they're talking about, and asking questions. And the biggest thing of all, listening.
Conversation is when you have to draw them out and get a back and forth interaction going. Do it in many different ways, but that, to me, that's what conversation is as opposed to talking at.
All right, you like turtles? Is that the name of your story? I like turtles. Well, that's okay. It could be a short story. Are you going to read this after Jim today? By Alex. All right. What's this page? I like a snail in water. Now I'm kind of confused. Your book says I like turtles. You like turtles underwater? It's kind of like Tessa's clam is underwater. It's still over there in that container. And this one says I like... And that's what we said here. I like turtles underwater. And this page says...
Thinking about just regular interactions versus powerful interactions. Powerful is such a great word to describe it because Powerful doesn't just mean we're being bossy or we're showing that we have authority. It just means that we're in control of our emotions, and we're in control of communication with the children, and we're serving as the role model for them. So I think that's a powerful role that we have as teachers. And so for us to model that with children is so important, to show them that we are there, and we want to instill in them ways to interact with their peers as well.
With powerful interactions as opposed to just regular ones, I think that means where you're really connecting. Anybody can interact on any kind of a level, but a powerful interaction is when I think you take in all the things that are going on at the moment, synthesize them maybe until you go, okay, that's where this needs to go, that's what it's going to be the most effective for the child. That's where it's going to help me get to the next level with the child.
Families are so important, especially in our program with these young children. And for me, just as an example, with the bilingual program, it presents a unique challenge because my parents, the majority of them, for them, Spanish is their first language. And although I have a lot of them who also speak English, I really strive to talk to them in their first language, and I think that instills in them that I care about them and their children. But not only just with the language, I think communicating with the parents during conference time and being able to share with them all the wonderful things that their children are doing and all the successes that their children have made throughout the year is just really exciting. And it's wonderful also to hear from them and talk about what the children are doing at home, and we can compare notes. And I think that exchange of information is really key as well.
I'm fortunate as that I get to meet all my parents, being a special ed teacher, before the child comes to school. So I get to talk with them about what happens in my classroom and how I keep the communication going with my parents. And usually I offer up 3 different scenarios of communication. I have a notebook that can travel back and forth in the backpack that we can write about exciting things or an accident or whatever may have happened either at school or at home. It doesn't have to be a daily thing. I also offer my school email for those who prefer the technology route. And of course, they would get my office phone number for just a phone call and when something would come up through the moment, or if that's their preferred mode of communication.
Well, I have a student in my class, and she was working at the Art Center, and she came over and showed me that she had made a bracelet, and she had used the hole punch and made various shapes and used tape and had this neck or bracelet with all these little characters on it. And then a little while later, she brought it to my attention that she made a necklace to go with the bracelet. And she was quite excited to explain how she had put the little figures on the end so that they would show when she put it around her neck. And then later, actually at the end of the day, we were getting ready to leave, and she came up to me and she said, "Teacher, I have an idea for this bracelet. Wouldn't it be neat to use it as a key, and you could open your door with it, and then I could also put my name on it so that I would know that it's my bracelet?" And I thought that was just a great example of how she started with one project, and then we were able to communicate about what she wanted to do with her project, and then she expanded on that idea and came up with some new ideas, something maybe that she could work on another time.
Early childhood teachers use communication with a variety of goals in mind. Sometimes the goal is to build a positive relationship, so social communication is used. Other times, extending learning is the goal, so teachers engage in sustained, shared thinking with children. It is important for teachers to really know the children, so teachable moments can be utilized and the appropriate communication strategy for each child is used. Regardless of the child's ability, relevant, reciprocal, and respectful communication exchanges benefit all. Whether you are using an augmentative communication device, a picture exchange system, nonverbal or verbal strategies, reciprocal interactions are key to building relationships, extending the conversation, and helping you be successful in extending learning. Here are a few suggestions for using communication to build relationships with children and extend the conversation. Be present and in the moment. Get down on the child's level. Give your undivided attention. Know the child's interest and abilities and show a genuine interest in what they are doing. Use parallel talk. Initiate conversation by acknowledging what the child is doing. Get to know the family. Be specific in your communication and describe what you see the child doing rather than using generic phrases and praise, such as "great job." Ask open-ended questions and avoid quizzing. Connect the conversation to the child. Follow up with the child on previous conversations. Take the child's lead. Allow time for child to respond. Verbally acknowledge children's communication. Offer choices.
What is it? Oh, Sierra wanted you to play basketball?
I'm gonna play basketball.
Oh, did you say I would like to play at my hideout? Okay, so I think Sierra's okay with it, so you can play at your hideout. Did you tell her?
Oh.
Okay, tell her. So you can play at your hideout.
That's my one.
The strategies I use to show a student I am listening. I would be in a close proximity so he knows I'm present. I would also use smiles and nods of my head, a wink or a gesture that lets him know I'm interested in what he's doing. I might also join in the play quietly or join in whatever activity he's doing quietly and just let him know I'm present and happy to be near him.
The strategies that I use to enhance communication is to sit and listen and to encourage them. If speech is a problem, just to take our time and just encourage, definitely encourage conversation with anybody, even with myself or anyone else in the room.
In order to show the children that we're paying attention to them and listening to them, I think eye contact is the number one thing I keep in mind when I'm talking with children, and getting down to their level and not looking down at them, but being able to sit with them or kneel or get on their level, and so that they know that I am focused on them is very important.
The strategies that I use to show a student I'm listening to them is that I would repeat something back to them that they said. If it's something that they said where there's mistakes in the speech, I'll say it back correctly without necessarily telling them, say this or say that. I'll just say it back correctly and see if they start picking up on that. Sometimes I see people will ask a question or give a direction, and if it doesn't happen within 1 or 2 seconds, it's restated. And there's a need for restating, but sometimes you have to just let it sink in a little bit.
The children on the autism spectrum use a lot of visual cues. So in everything we do, we have visual cues with it. And the purpose of doing the visual is that it should make the child, it's a channel to getting through to the child because they're visual learners, but it's to open up to other areas of communication, like through the oral language. We have bathroom books where it shows exactly what we're supposed to do in the restroom visually. We go through those with the children. We show them the pictures when they're in the act of doing what they're supposed to be doing. Then we use the correct language that they need to also do the activity, with the intention that we'll learn what we're supposed to do, we'll get the language, the oral language with it, as well as the understanding with it. We do it for during snack time. I have a menu, as it were, where we have limited to about 2 choices to what they're going to eat. These are children who are nonverbal, but we cue them into the either actual object that we're going to be having today, if it's marshmallows or graham crackers. We had, for some of the students, we had little tiny marshmallows on top of the picture or beside the picture of the marshmallows, so that if they weren't getting it from the picture, they were getting it from the actual object. And the intent would be that they would put their hand on the one they want, or they would say the word. It depends on the level and how they'll respond to it. But I want to have all those cues so that I want them to know that they can communicate with me, and I am open to how they're going to communicate with me.
My students, being in the special ed realm of things, they're not only grasp the words, but they grasp the expression and the intonation of my voice and that type of thing. So sometimes the words aren't that as important as maybe as my enthusiasm. So some good starters would be having several things laid out and say, what would you like to play with today? What looks like fun? And having it open-ended and allowing them to just select and talk about what they want, or just select what they want and go ahead and play.
Slowing it down in this busy, busy, fast world. And there are so many speech therapists. I'll use my iPad sometimes with some things, or sometimes we use the smartboard. But sometimes I like to just go back to plain basics, because it like gets us away from that being wired into a screen or listening to a noisy toy, and using our voices to make our sounds and explore, and using our hands to manipulate what we need to do. And I love it when we just have plain crayons or Play-Doh or something simple. And the kids really respond to that, I think. It's a good thing.
I really think how we are communicating with our children, our young 3 to 5-year-olds right now, is really going to impact how they are successful in the later grades, in grade school and high school and even beyond. I think if we are communicating with them in a way that we are asking them questions and asking the right questions that are kind of eliciting those higher thinking skills and getting them to really pause and reflect on what they're doing.
As you can see, teachers pull from a variety of strategies to initiate, engage, and expand conversations with children. We hope this video has prompted you to reflect on the strategies you use to build relationships with children in your classroom and the type of communication you have with them. Consider asking yourself, what do my current relationships with children in the classroom look like? What steps can I take to get to know children better? Have I slowed down enough to connect with a child and understand their perspective? Do I talk with children or at them? Am I using individualized strategies to extend the conversation? With the demands of the classroom, it can be difficult to fully engage with one child in an extended conversation. Challenge yourself and see what meaningful conversations can do for you and your children. You just might find that when you are able to connect and engage in meaningful conversations with children, they are more likely to feel respected and safe in their environment, right where they need to be for sustained engaged learning. Being present and conversations are just the beginning. Please join us for the next video in the series, Intentional Planning, as we explore the interrelated components of the planning process.